Hey everybody, welcome back to the Steam Summer Sale 2023. This time around, we are bound to have a much shorter, more manageable video because we don't have 91 games like we did in the games under $5, because there's so many good games in that price range. But don't you worry, there's still plenty, 27 games in the under $2 category. And some of these, like, you will not believe the value, the amount of game that you can get for less than 2 smackaroonies. Come on, is some good stuff. Let's get into it. Quit dilling, quit dallying. First up, 100% orange juice. This is the weirdest little board game you will ever see. It's like chibied out anime girls are all the characters, and there's a ton of DLC, and basically it's a board game that also involves your character battling and you collecting these cards and using them in opportune times in order to get the effects that you need in order to win the board game. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of, there's like turn-based RPG-ish feel, but also like board game strategy type stuff. Like, it's it's an interesting little monkey. I don't know anything like it. It's very weird. You have to be in a mood, but this game is a super amount of fun. And so yeah, I definitely do recommend it. And you can get this Mamma Jamma for $1.74. You can get a 4-pack for $4.49, which is what I did. I got it for my whole family. Look at how much there is. It's $1.74 worth of game. There is almost $60 worth of DLC. What? I mean, it's insane. So yeah. But if you like buying lots and lots of characters, there's a lot to buy here. But the game itself, very affordable. Anyway, so Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron. I think of this game as very much like, oh, my brain has forgotten my own favorite game, Skyforce Reloaded and Skyforce Anniversary, those games. This one reminds me of those in terms of like how it feels to play it, and also in terms of the general quality of the game. As you can see here, it's very bullet hellish, but also very manageable. There's a lot of power-ups, and if you learn to watch yourself and your ship the way that you have to in these bullet hell type games, there's a way through, and that's what makes it fun, is finding that way through. Like a lot of these levels, you might not make it on the first run, but you will make it eventually. So that's why we play the vertical shooters. That's what we like about the bullet hells. So if you like bullet hell type games, like, yeah, I do recommend Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron, which you can get for $1.79. Next up, Airscape: The Fall of Gravity. Now, this is what I mean. I mentioned before there was a game due to Dust and Elysian Tale. I mentioned it felt like it was made by either one person development team or a very small development team, just because there's the type of quality that you get from an office of 3 people working on a game as opposed to, you know, an office of 20 people working on a game. So, and it doesn't mean the game's not good. Like, it just, you know, you can feel that, like, you know, that feeling of seeing the Unity logo at the beginning of a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't mean the game is bad necessarily, but it does mean that you are seeing the Unity logo at the beginning, which means that the person didn't have the wherewithal to pay for the, you know, $1,000 or whatever it is to get that logo off the front of your game. So anyway, this game feels very similar, but as you've been seeing, as I've been talking about something almost unrelated, it is a Super Mario Galaxy-ish, you know, sort of jump around the planet kind of a deal, but with water. And so, like, the gravity, the physics of this game are really, really creative. And it does get pretty hard as the game goes along, but it's super fun, and it's, you know, like a well-crafted indie game, and like an indie game. I don't know anything else by Cross Product. Maybe that's my fault, that maybe they've made more. I don't know, but I'm telling you, like, $139 for this much game, like, yes please, absolutely. Very fun to play, very it'll flip your brain a little bit when you're you know, jumping into those pools, and then the entire screen rotates and you have to like reorient yourself. Anyway, Alien Breed Impact is only part of the greatest isometric shooter series ever. That's only what it is like, seriously, no kidding, isometric shooters. This is one of the very best of this entire genre, if not the best. I would argue it is the best. But, well, that it's part of the best series, because you have to take all three games. You really do. This is one where, like, there's a whole story arc, and you really kind of have to take all three games, which, let me show you a thing, because, like, it makes me sad that there's not video, because this is such a great game. And, yeah, Alien Breed Impact, $1.99. The trilogy is $4.59, and I'm telling you, like, this is the greatest isometric shooting series ever. Like, I love these games so much. They're so, like, creepy and environmental. It's like, you know, it's really, really a fantastic game feel. I love the way the guns feel. I love the soundscape. I love how the aliens appear, how they die. Like, it's all very satisfying. And so, yeah, it's a really, really good game. All three of them are fantastic. I highly recommend all of them. But if you're only, you know, if you haven't played an isometric shooter, because it's not a massive genre, to say the least, but if you've never played an isometric shooter, start here. Like, yeah, $1.99. That's fantastic. All three games for $4.59. Wow. Love that. That is a deal. The Binding of Isaac. The Binding of Isaac, I feel like everybody knows about this game. You know, it just, that's how it feels, because it feels like it's been around for forever. When did this come out? 2011. Yeah, because, like, you could get this on your 3DS. Is how old this game is. And so, like, it's a really, really odd very unique game, to say the least. Because basically you're a little baby in a dungeon who kills things with his tears. That's just a weird premise to start with. And like, just look at what's happening in each of these screenshots. Like, just look at it. Look at it. It's so like weirdly gruesome in a lot of ways, and like just morbid. But it's also super tight controls and really good gameplay. And so it's actually one of the best like roguelike shooters that you can find. Like, it's seriously great. Like, it's seriously really good in terms of roguelike shooters. Very unique, fantastic to play. Weird game, but we've all accepted it because of how good it is. It's 174. Yeah, The Binding of Isaac. So weird little game, super much fun. Oh, Bladed Fury. I feel like this one does not get nearly enough love, because Bladed Fury is gorgeous. Like, it really is. It's got a beautiful art style. There's even a fair bit of fan service, if that's something you care about, because this main character is a beautiful young woman, and like, there's beautiful young women in this game. But then it's this, you know, fantastic hack and slash beat 'em up with combos and Metroidvania elements, and like, so it's basically like Chinese Guacamelee. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. It's like Guacamelee, but in China. And it's so much fun and so good and so beautifully done. But yeah, like, this game is less than $2 right now. It's $1.99 for this much game. Like, that's a lot of game for $2. Because I genuinely love this game. I put it up there with like games that cost much more than this one does when it's not on sale. $9.99. Like, they're, yeah, my under $10 games. I'd put this right up there with any of those under $10 games that are normally, you know, twice and three times that price. So yeah, why no love for this game? I don't know why. Was it made by the Chinese government or something? That, I don't know. It's got that kind of a like head scratchingly like, why don't more people love this kind of a vibe. Anyway, BlazeBlue, Calamity Trigger. There are a bajillion BlazeBlue games on Steam. Calamity Trigger is one of them. I had never played any of these games, and so I picked up Calamity Trigger. Let's skip the introductory and get to the fighty McFighty. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Swordplay. Anyway, so yes. Come on. Up to it. Are you just doing character introductions? Okay, there we go. Now we see some of the gameplay. So, 2D fighter with weapons. It's with really good character designs, who are all unique and have really well-balanced strengths and weaknesses. Like, it's a really good 2D fighting game. It's a really good 2D fighting series. And so if you've played the Street Fighters, if you've played, you know, all the other things, all the other great games in the fighting game genre, Yeah, if you haven't played BlazeBlue yet, like, you could do worse than Calamity Trigger, probably. I don't know. I don't have all of them, but given how good this one is, I'm just saying, like, hey, is probably going to be pretty good. Yeah, from the creators of Guilty Gear, if you remember that one from back in the day. So yeah, it's a really good game. It's a really good game series, and you can get this for $1.49. Oh, you can get the whole like series for $17. That's, I don't know. I don't know if I need the entire series. For me personally, like, I don't get invested in the story of a fighting game as much as I just enjoy the fighting. And so I'm okay with only owning one game in a series if it's a fighting series. A lot of other series, if there's a big story like an RPG, I will want to own the entire series. But this one, I'm okay just owning Calamity Trigger. So anyway, next up, Bleed. Oh, this game. This game has been mean to me because, yeah, I was just really bad at doing the controls the way that they were set up for this game the first time I was playing it. And I didn't even think about remapping my controls until one day I'm like, it's a modern game. You can just remap the controls. And because I had such a problem for whatever reason with that original control scheme, and then I remapped the controls so that you know, the time slowing element was easier for me to remember and reach, so that I could get past that helicopter. In the first little bit, I kept dying again and again and again, and I know that if you know how to control time with that, then it's not hard. Anyway, this game's been around since 2012. There is a Bleed 2. Let's see, is there a deal on the combo? Yeah, $288 for 1 and 2. That's a really good deal. Bleed and Bleed 2, they're both really good. Like bullet time, twin sticky 2D platforming shooters. So yeah, that's what they are pretty much. $1.69 for the game itself, all on its own. Braveland. Braveland is not just a single game, it's an entire game series. It is really, like, how to say this without sounding patronizing. It's like a really nice handholdy way into strategy RPG, like into, yeah, strategy based role playing. So if you're not quite ready for Disgaea, you know, just kidding, Disgaea brings you into it as well. Like, Disgaea teaches you how to play it really well. So I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like, this is a really nicely done strategy RPG that is easy to understand for anyone, regardless of how much or how little experience they have in strategy RPGs. And it's, you know, it's not fairly, it's like basically straight up linear. I mean, sometimes, you know, it's like the map on Super Mario 3, where sometimes you can go to World 4 before, or go to World 5 before you go to World 4. But, you know, like, that's not to say that it's not linear, because you couldn't just start out at World 8, you know. So, yeah, Braveland, it's fairly linear, but it's a really, really good turn-based strategy RPG series, because the game itself is $1.59, but there's a trilogy Braveland, Braveland Pirate, and Braveland Wizard, and there's another one coming out soon. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Spaceland is a thing also. Very, very similar kind of a deal. And there's another one like Braveland, Knights of Braveland. Is that out? Oh, it's out. I didn't even know it was out. Came out in February. Where have I been? Anyway, regardless. Yeah, the Braveland games are really good, and I recommend picking up the trilogy, picking up the 3-pack. But if you want to start and just play one of them, like I did that. I bought the first one, and then I had to go back and buy the other two. Luckily, Steam does that thing where it will give you the bundle. It will say like, okay, here's the rest of the bundle that you're missing. We're going to, subtract the price of the game that you have. I have always appreciated that Steam does that because of how boneheaded I can be sometimes buying games where I'm gonna want the whole trilogy, but I only buy the one. I think I did the same thing with Alien Breed. Like, why didn't I just buy all of them right up front? They're obviously the greatest isometric shooters ever, so why not? Oh yeah, anyway, Braveland, great series, definitely worth it. Dex, I can't believe Dex is under $2. I don't know what it is about this game that it still feels like new to me, because I know it's not new. Like, when did this come out? 2015 this came out. So it's 8 years old, but somehow I feel like it's really new. For whatever reason in my brain, that's what I'm always thinking. And so yeah, this game, you are a cybernetically enhanced human, and you have powers that allow you to do some superhuman things in the way that you move around the world, in the way that you're able to see things, the way that you're able to interact with the world. And it's a really, really interesting, cool, like, how would you describe it? Because there's like beat 'em up type elements, and there's puzzle solving, and there's like character leveling, and yeah, and shooting, and like yeah, and some like decision making and whatnot. Like, it's an interesting game. It's basically, the best way I can describe it is Deus Ex, but 2D. And so like, if you know Deus Ex, you'll be like, oh, all right. And 2D, yeah. So it's got the whole cyberpunk vibe, and it's so much fun. Really good game. And it is currently $1.99, and it's new as of 2015. And my brain, it's new today. Anyway, Duke Nukem 3D World Tour 20th Anniversary Edition. I know that this one is not new because I remember when this came out 20 years ago. So yeah, a 90s classic. I was in high school then. So yeah, I totally remember this. But yeah, when it came to like, you had your Doom and you had your Quake, you had, the games that were coming out at the time, in this genre, and then Duke Nukem 3D. Like, the 2D Duke Nukem games, Apogee is fantastic. Like, Apogee was knocking it out of the park back in the DOS days, And Duke Nukem was a 2D side scrolling. It didn't have all the babes and whatnot. Like, it was like pretty straightforward, 2D side scrolling alien shooter. Yeah, didn't have any of that business, And so, like, yeah, let's end on a better. Okay, we'll pause it right there. But all of the madness of a Duke Nukem, like, there is a reason why, like, because who was playing this game at the time? It was like 13, 14-year-old boys, which is what we were. We were playing the crap out of this. And it has the sense of humor of a 13-year-old boy. And the desire to see gyrating women in skimpy clothing as much as a 13-year-old boy. So, yeah, that's where this lives. But you know what? You can be super nostalgic for this like I am and be like, oh my God, that would be fun to own. Or you can be someone who's like, this is what video games were doing in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. And it's like, yeah, yep, that's how we did. It's how we did back in the day. Anyway, $1.99 for the Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour. Yeah. Anyway. Next up, we have Gato Roboto, which I love this game. This is a so cute Metroidvania where, like, it's got these Game Boy type graphics, these monochrome graphics. And yeah, what happens is this guy designs this super suit and it's supposed to be for himself, but then his cat gets in it because, of course, if you have cats, it makes perfect sense that they'd be like, oh, this is what you're working on? Well, I'm gonna sit on top of it. Anyway, so yeah, like, it's so cute and so expressive with like black and white, like completely black and white graphics and, pixels. It is so expressive and fun, and it's got shades of, it is a Metroidvania, and so it's got shades of Metroid, but it's also got shades of Blaster Master because, like, you get out of the suit sometimes because there are areas that you can only traverse if you get out of the suit. And so in those moments, you're just a vulnerable little kitty cat. And so it's a really well-designed game. It's a really good idea, and it is only $1.99. And it's from Devolver, and they just publish quality. That's what they do. They publish quality. So, next up, we have Geometry Wars. I put this on there because this game ruled so hard. Like, Xbox 360 days, this game, like, in the Xbox game store, like, yeah. I didn't have an Xbox back then, but my brother-in-law did, and we were over at their house all the time, and I played this game so much because it's so fun and so addictive. And then they ported it, I swear, didn't they have this on the iPad? Because I had something that played it. I think it was my original iPad. Anyway, but this game ruled back in the day. I loved this game. It's very similar to Asteroids. You're this little spaceship and you shoot backwards. It's twin stick shooter. And like it's really, really interesting because all of these enemies have different behaviors. Some just bounce around randomly, some chase you down directly, some like spin and bounce off the walls and stuff, and they just start spawning in waves. And if you don't clear out one wave, then you're going to have multiple different enemy types on the screen at the same time. I love the explosions in this game, like, because it's made to look like vector graphics, and I love vector graphics. I have a Vectrex, like, I love vector graphics. And so, yeah, Geometry Wars, like, wow, it gets really frantic, but it's really, really fun. And although it does look a little bit dated now, and there is an updated version of it where you're, going around spheres and stuff. That's an interesting idea. I haven't played it yet. I think I own it, but I haven't played it yet. And so I'm kind of holding off on recommending that one until I played it. But this one, I'm telling you, I poured hours into this back in the day. And so it's fun to have it on Steam for $1.99. Like, that is totally worth it to me. Anyway, Giana Sisters Twisted Dreams. The Giana Sisters were an infamous, like, lawsuit Mario franchise that started on the Commodore 64. And I'm not allowed to touch Commodore 64s because I was raised on Atari. And, anything that, like, what's his name, Alan Trammell wouldn't approve of, I can't get into. So I've literally, I'm way into vintage computing, and I've literally never touched a Commodore 64. Been in the same room as the C64 many times. Touched it? Never. And I know that is the most finicky, dumb thing for me, but, like, I do love the history of, Giana Sisters being this, like, obvious, they're Giana, it's an Italian name, and it's sisters instead of brothers, and they're, platforming and whatnot. And yeah, Nintendo actually sued, and here we are years later, and there's a new Giana Sisters game that is really unique. It is nothing like the original Giana Sisters. Well, not nothing like. It is very different from. It's a completely different feel. There is a collectathon sort of a vibe to it, where if you are the sort of person who wants to get every single gem, because you do get rated on that at the end of the level, then you can pour hours and hours into this game. Eventually I had to give up on, being perfect on every single gem, because otherwise I was never going to make it through the game. But it's an excellent platformer. The different powers of the two different sisters and the ways that they move through light and dark worlds. It's a really, really cool game idea, and it's excellently executed here, and it's $1.49. And there's a second game that I haven't played yet, Rise of the Owlverlord. But this bundle is $1.79, so another 30 cents, and you get the bundle. So, yeah, why not spend the extra 30 cents? I'm telling you, this is one of the best platformers in a long time. It's really, really good. I mean, it came out in 2012. It is 11 years old now. But, like, it is still one of the best platformers to come out of the last 20 years, honestly. Goat Simulator. Oh, Goat Simulator. It feels almost mandatory at this point. Like, You just have to have, if you own Steam, you should have Goat Simulator. Because why? Because Goat Simulator, you know, because, you know, some of the dumbest physics nonsense that you can ever get yourself involved in is so dumb, so funny, so strange, such a product of the time, you know, like it's a really, really good game for being not a really good game, you know, like it's in many ways just kind of a tech demo in the same way that, you know, Gmod is just kind of a tech demo. But yeah, it's a really silly game. Like it's completely ridiculous, and it feels like you should have it. It's such silly, dumb physics and nonsense. $1.99. There is DLC for it, where you can even go into space. Goat Sim in Payday. Yeah, there's, you know, zombie goats, which, yeah, there's things for it. So yeah, Goat Simulator, it's a silly game, but $1.99. The bundle's only $3.74, so, you know, might consider. I should have considered getting the bundle, but also when I saw this game, I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna like this. Hacknet. Oh my goodness. There are gonna be some people out there who are like, oh, thank goodness he mentioned Hacknet, because, and I'm not kidding, this is a cult classic of a cult classic. It is a hacking game in which it kind of simulates hacking back in the, like, you know, late DOS, early Windows era. And, you know, it's really, really interesting. Like, it teaches you, you know, this like fake command line stuff, that only works in game, like, because they can't actually use the actual, you know, they don't get sued by Microsoft. But like, it feels like computing of the day, you know, because I've been messing around on computers for decades. And so, yeah, this has the vibe. It absolutely has the vibe. And the thing about it is that it has a really deep story, because yeah, the thing is, yeah, you get taught how to do these things, and like move in and out of security, and, you know, download information from various computers without people realizing it, and then erasing your tracks, and then also trying to solve a mystery, because like there's a total mystery in this game. And so like it's a really, like, once you get into it, it's a really immersive game, but also it's like a lot of text-based stuff. So, you know, its appeal is definitely going to be limited, but for people who get it, it's like, wow, that's really cool. So it's $1.49. Hacknet, absolutely gotta have it if that's the kind of thing that you dig. Oh, Half-Life 2, I just had to put it up here because it's Half-Life 2. Because didn't you know that Half-Life 2 is a game that exists in this world, and that you should have played it by now? If you haven't played it, did you know that you should have? Like, because that's like part of gaming, is to have definitely played this game by now. I don't know, it sounds like a very, very patronizing, but like, it really is such a watershed game. that like really changed the face of gaming in so many ways, that you can see in like not just handfuls, but like, you know, we're talking dozens and dozens and dozens of games and franchises that are like a huge deal now, that owe their early beginnings to things that were created in this game, you know. So yeah, it's one of the wildest shooters that you could possibly play because of everything that happens in it. And if you play it, then you're going to become one of those people who is like, why didn't they come out with episode 3? They said they were going to come out with episode 3. And you're going to be like really disappointed. Really disappointed. Anyway, so if you're on board for that kind of a feeling where you know that if you get into this, then you're going to be mad that Valve doesn't finish their series, which, yeah, it's less than $1 technically, but what you want is the orange box, because the orange box comes with Half-Life 2, Episode 1, Episode 2, Portal, and TF2. And because TF2 is free now, getting the orange box actually unlocks cool stuff for you in-game in TF2. So, ta-da. Like, you should get the orange box and have it in your life. Like, I feel like this is important. If you have Steam, like, honestly, and I'm not even lying here, the only reason I even have Steam is because of the orange box. Like, I had it for the orange box. That was the only game I had on Steam for the longest time. And then Russian hackers took over my Steam account. And then when I got it back, I had over 600 games. And now this channel exists. So, ta-da. Like, it all starts with Half-Life 2. And so that's why, to me, it feels like, wait, you can have Steam and not have the orange box? Like, how is that possible? Anyway, Hotline Miami, this will also apply to Hotline Miami 2. Wrong number is the subtitle on that one. Anyway, Hotline Miami is one of the best top-down shooters ever made, if not the best, and I'm sure you'll find people who will argue that it is absolutely the best. So it's got this like big 80s vibe, 80s Miami Vice kind of a deal, except it is so gory for a top-down pixel game. It is so gory. And that's what makes it fun. And there's like a ton of ways to kill people and stuff, even when you run out of bullets. And it's really fun game. It's $1.99. Hotline Miami 2 is Hotline, that's the soundtrack. Anyway, Hotline Miami 2 is also a really good game. The bundle is out there, and you can get that for $4.29. So yeah, I suggest the bundle, but if you want just the single game, it's $1.99, and it's really fun. Haha. Someone's playing Donut County. Anyway, so yeah, Hotline Miami, that's a whole thing. The most gory, ridiculous, over the top, top down shooter that you are likely to ever see in your life. And its sequel is more of the same. So it is all that, but even more so. Okay, here's a game with a guy with this kind of a hat pulled low over his eyes, which we have already discussed is the same as Grim Dawn and the same as Victor Varan. So, this whole look of like, you know, low hat, even the crossed arms, like seems like it appears in one more than one place. Anyway, so yeah, these games. This is another really good hack and slash RPG that is, Diablo-ish. That's what it is. It's unavoidably Diablo-ish. It is gloriously Diablo-ish. But it's Van Helsing, so of course it is certain types of enemies. Hint, hint, hint. You're gonna have a lot of vampires, a lot of werewolves, a lot of that kind of fun stuff. And so yeah, it's a really fun game. Really good, character leveling and decent story. I wouldn't say amazing, but decent story in an action RPG where there are melee weapons and ranged weapons and lots of different ways to approach combat and level your character to meet the challenge of the game, which grows immensely as the game goes along. Really fun game. Really fun game, though. So if you like your Diablo clones, because Diablo clones with a guy in this hat pulled low over his eyes, yeah, always. I own all three of them. I don't think that they're made by the same people. Let's side jag. We've got time. The other video was 2 hours. Let's find out, because this one is Neocore Games. Grim Dawn. If it's not Neocore, then, there goes that idea. Crate. Yeah. See, it's not even the same people. Wait. Victor V ran. No, dummy. Victor Vran. Okay. Haimamont Games. Yeah. 3 different developers all came up with this same idea to make a Diablo clone with this guy as the character. So, yeah. What kind of fun is that? It's plenty of fun. This game has already appeared in our under $5 games. But yeah, the fact that you can get one of these for under 2, The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, that's a lot of fun. That's really good, because it really is a very well-made action RPG in a Diablo style. Okay, Just Cause 2. I already had Just Cause 3 in one of my other videos, and Just Cause 1 will be in another one of my videos. So the Just Cause series is very good on Steam summer sales. This is like, okay, here's how you have to think about Just Cause, is that, so you had Grand Theft Auto, and then you had a bunch of games that sort of ripped off that Grand Theft Auto vibe. And so, yeah, you had Just Cause, which is one of them. You had the Saints Row games. Obviously Saints Row went like silly and loot. And, I mean, am I mischaracterizing that? I think that's kind of what it is. but it's fun. Like, those games are fun. There is fun to be had there, and those also go on sale, but they're also kind of controversial. So I don't know. I don't know if they're not cheap enough or if they just didn't make the cut this year. Maybe next year. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, but Just Cause, instead of going like, you know, in a different weird direction, kind of like Saints Row did, what Just Cause did is they said like, hey, you watch those dumb action movies on Saturday mornings? And they're like, yeah, those dumb action movies on Saturday mornings. I know those. And they're like, what if we made a game where you could do that? And they're like, what? The dumb stuff that defies the laws of physics? They're like, yeah. Yeah, what if you could just do that in a game? And Just Cause was like, yeah, okay. That's our game now. We're just going to do that. We're just going to make it so that you can be an action movie that you are in control of, you know, like you're pulling the stupid, ridiculous, over the top stunts. You're the Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're the Chuck Norris. You're, whatever crazy action star from back in the day, making those crazy movies where it's like the laws of physics do not allow for that kind of nonsense, But yeah, Just Cause, that's what they did. And Just Cause 2 is $1.49. Now, granted, there's so much DLC for it, and if you get the DLC, then it's kind of, especially if you're playing multiplayer, you can feel about that however you like. But I'm talking about the first player game, the multiplayer stuff notwithstanding. Just the first player experience is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And for under $2, it's a really good game. Okay, Reigns. Oh my goodness. I have to tell you, this game, I wish that I could have shared this game with my brother who passed away a couple years ago now. 2 years this Cinco de Mayo. He passed away on Cinco de Mayo. Makes that a fun holiday all the time. Anyway, but no, I can't play this game without thinking about him because he was always fascinated with the royal families of small European countries. Anyway, so in this game, you play as the king and you get to make these decisions, which are like yes or no, and you build your dynasty. I got my high score on this game. I reigned for over 40 years. I reigned for 47 years, which is pretty hard in this game, because if you're making the wrong decisions, the people can revolt. Okay, so you have to balance in your decisions things that affect the church, the people, the military, and the economy. And it shows you, like, let me take this back. It shows you, by the size of the dot and the fact that there's a dot over it. So, it can be like, small impact on the people, small impact on the military. I'm the next king. I will kill the infidels. Yeah. So if you send Prince Cedric out to kill the infidels, this is going to have an effect on the military, and it's going to have an effect on the population. The hopeful effect, the thing you hope, is that it will, help the military while only hurting one member of the population. But you don't know that until you decide it. Boom. You bleed to death at your son's feet. See, and then it's over, and then it starts over with your son on the throne. And then you get to play out that story with yes or no decisions. And it's a really simple game design, but it's also got a great sense of humor. It's very fun, very addictive, and it's $1.49. And there's DLC for it. There is DLC, and there's a second game. There's a Reigns where it is the female, it is the princess looking at her suitors and making yes or no choices on her suitors based on, the similar bits of information where it'll impact, but you don't know how. Anyway, I love Reigns, and I wish I could have shared it with my brother. It does make me think of him, but yeah, because that's the kind of stuff that he loved. So yeah, Reigns, great game. Reventure. Reventure is a really simple. Okay, I'm gonna have to mute you, my friend. Yeah, the thing here is that there are hundreds of different endings to the game. And indeed there are. And so, yeah, it's got really, really simple pixel graphics, and it is roguelike. So, everything is procedurally generated, but it's procedurally generated in chunks. So you will recognize bits and pieces of it and remember kind of how to get around various areas, or you'll see, similar types of design in the levels. You'll be like, okay, I know how to do this. So even though it's procedurally generated, it's something that you get better at over time. And yeah, and so, as you go along, you try to build up your character because it's got them rogue light elements as well. And yeah, it's really good, and it boasts of over 100 different endings. Yeah, which it totally does have, because I've reached the end a couple of times, and yeah, different endings. It's strange. Anyway, so $1.59 for Reventure. Man, I can't believe this one's going to be an hour. I'm going way too long. I was feeling like, oh, I've got all the time in the world, because I don't have to be as tight as the last one, because I don't have 91 games. And look at me just going on and on. We're going to look at Rogue. Rogue is the original Rogue in roguelike. So if you want to play the Rogue from which roguelikes come, which, like, why wouldn't you want to experience the original in its ASCII glory? Like, total ASCII graphics, man. If you haven't played a game built on ASCII graphics, oh, you've been missing out. You've been missing out. But anyway, $1.49. That's what that is. So yeah, it's really good. You should definitely get it. And then if you like this, then you go get the original Dwarf Fortress, and then you're playing ASCII on a level that's almost unimaginable. Anyway, which that's free. Go find it. It's on the internet. Anyway, and Dwarf Fortress, is it on sale? I didn't even look, because I don't have it for myself yet. $26.99. That's still a little rich for my blood. Maybe later it'll go on sale and I'll buy it. A lot of people I know already have it. It makes me jealous. But yeah, Rogue, $1.49. Play the original. Find out what all the fuss is about. Become insufferable when people are like, oh, well, you know what a roguelike really means. And you're like, actually. Okay, we're almost done. Let's not run too far over an hour. Shing. Shing is the sound a sword makes. It absolutely is. This game is a roguelike, or maybe roguelite, side-scrolling beat 'em up. It has got cool anime styles. It does have, your requisite anime girl fan service. But yeah, it also is really, really good. At this price point, I mean, gee whiz, you're getting a lot of game. You're getting, yeah, bathroom scene, obligatory. No, but like, look at this. Look at how much game you can get for under $2. Like, what? That's a lot of game. Really good. There's some platformy bits. There's beat 'em up little, power ups and moves and whatnots and things, combos and stuff that you can do. Really fun game, and it is $1.99. That's really good for a game like that. So, yeah, that's a steal. Steamworld Heist. This is the only Steamworld game that I wouldn't necessarily recommend to everyone. Steamworld and Steamworld Dig and Steamworld Dig 2 I would recommend to anyone, because that kind of Boulder Dash meets RPG-ish sort of gameplay, that, yeah, anyone can get into that. Like, it works so well. But as you can see here, Steamworld Heist is like turn-based, geometry-based shooting. And so it has almost a puzzly aspect to it. And also you get rated on stars on the levels, so it also kind of can feel Angry Birds-ish at times. So, yeah, not everybody's gonna love this, but the weapons in their varieties and power-ups and such, they're really cool and really interesting. And the game is fun. Like, it's a lot of fun. It's just so different from the other SteamWorld games. There's no Boulder Dash here. It's all shooty McShooty. But in the SteamWorld world, so it's the same, it's part of the franchise, which also you can get a deluxe edition for, 19 cents more, and it comes with the DLC, which do I have the DLC? I need to complete my collection. That's indeed the truth. But anyway, yeah, there is a lot of good, interesting stuff in the SteamWorld games world, and this one's fun, but maybe not for everybody. Check yourself and think to yourself, like, does that look like something I would play? Because if so, like, give it a shot. Super fun. Okay, Stick Fight, the game. This is one that you should buy multiple copies of, because it is best played with people that best played as a party game where everybody just gets on and goes nuts. So yeah, if you can LAN party this thing, like, boy, you'd be having a great time. So the thing about it is, you got these real ragdoll physics, and these crazy contraptions and stuff, and all of these different weapons. I mean, there's a gun that just shoots snakes, and yeah, it just gives you crazy weapons. And then with ragdoll physics, you try to, he got snake gunned. Yeah, you're trying to kill each other with these crazy ragdoll physics. And so it's a really fun game. But yeah, it's, also not necessarily for everyone. Not in my family. It gives my wife panic attacks. But my son loves it. Yeah, I think it's a fun game, but you know, yeah, you got to play it with other people who enjoy playing this kind of game. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so stick fight the game. We are almost there, people. Last but not least, I still haven't touched a Commodore 64, and yet I have this game, which is the original. Like, I don't know if it's still on the Apple Game Store, the iOS Game Store. What's that thing called? The Apple App Store? Anyway, you can tell I spent a lot of time and money on apps. Anyway, but yeah, sort of Fargoal, you can get it as an iOS game, and it has modern type graphics. But this is the original, and they play remarkably similarly, even though one of them has modern graphics. But it's this, turn-based. Every time you take a move, the randomly generated monsters in the level, they move and whatnot, and you got to go down floors and floors and floors and floors and floors down into this dungeon to retrieve the Sword of Fargoal, which once you retrieve it, here's the stupid thing: you can't even use it. You go down this massive dungeon to get this sword. You can't even use it. You just carry it out. But carrying it makes everybody try to come after you, including character types who, yeah, there are some character types who can steal it from you, and then they will go up and down random numbers of levels. And so you just have to go up and down random numbers of levels to try and find them and get the sword back. And so getting it out is like a massive undertaking. It's like a legitimate RPG experience. And so, yeah, like, obviously kudos to the people on the Commodore 64. We did not have this on the Atari 800 of Atari 800 line. The 8-bit Atari home computer line. Yeah, we didn't have this. We had some other games that were interesting RPG-ish games, but we didn't have this. We did not have this. And so this is really cool. And it's a really awesome game, and it's awesome that I can play it on here and still not have to touch a Commodore 64. I don't think I've betrayed my Atari roots here. So, yeah, $1.49 for Sword of Fargoal. Anyway, people, that will do it for our games under $2. All we have left are the games under $1. I'm going to try and make that video much shorter than this one, proportionally, much less time spent on each individual game. Anyway, so if you made it through this one, congratulations. And yeah, thanks for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.